A silver-haired man in gleaming armor sits on a throne, coldly declaring, "As of today, I want you out of my clan." Kneeling on a red carpet, a young, black-haired boy looks up in stunned silence, his world collapsing. The boy is completely shocked, barely able to ask, "Out of the clan? Why, Adele?" Adele erupts in fury, blaming the boy for a failed dungeon exploration because he didn't scout for enemies and used an expensive transportation spell without permission. Adele calls him an incompetent enchanter, but the boy cries out in protest, recalling a flashback where he used enhanced scent to track enemies. A sharp sound echoes as the black-haired boy is struck, his face contorting in pain. Adele points accusingly, shouting that the boy shouldn't blame others for his own mistakes. The boy confronts Adele, reminding him of his past helplessness, but Adele threatens to kill him, calling him ungrateful. A red-haired woman with a concerned expression intervenes, telling Adele to stop. The woman, Marina, says fighting in the hall is a bad idea, as the black-haired boy looks up at her while Adele scoffs. Adele violently shoves the boy to the ground, calling him a scumbag. As a fellow mage, Marina smirks and asks the boy to explain his scouting method again. After the boy nervously explains he used enhanced scent, Marina's expression turns cold as she calls him a liar, saying it's impossible with a basic spell. The boy frantically tries to explain that his magic is different, but Marina curtly tells him to stop making things up. He desperately argues that his enchantment magic is unique, supposed to boost physical abilities by 20. Marina boasts that their party, called the Supernovas, is famous for clearing a B-rank dungeon as rookies. Now sitting intimately with Adele, Marina declares they don't need deadweight, while the boy on the floor insists they'd be in trouble without his magic. The boy, Carozo, looks on in horror as a stern, blonde-haired man announces that a replacement has already been arranged. The blonde man calls for the replacement to enter, as Carozo remains on the floor, stunned. A pink-haired girl in a pristine white coat enters, holding a staff and displaying a B-rank adventurer's badge. The new girl smiles warmly, expressing her excitement to join the famous Espada party. Adele glances down at the crushed Carozo with a condescending smirk. Grabbing Carozo's hair, Adele taunts him with the name Desmond, pointing out his replacement is a B rank. Adele leans in, gloating that the new girl uses advanced magic and has an aura completely different from a D rank like Carozo. A cruel laugh escapes Adele as he mocks Carozo, saying he can't complain now that a higher-ranked person has appeared. Marina laughs maliciously, telling Carozo he's fired while the new girl giggles smugly. The blonde man calls Carozo trash, accusing him of leeching off their skill and declaring it's over. With a bruised cheek and downcast eyes, Carozo quietly accepts his fate, agreeing to quit. As Carozo walks away, the party laughs and jeers, shouting for him to get out and leave his items behind. Leaving the room, Carozo thinks to himself that his former teammates couldn't clear a B-rank dungeon on their own, even with advanced magic. He sadly recalls a happier time when, as rookies, they all promised to work hard together. Heartbroken, Carozo reflects on his betrayal, lamenting, "I thought we were teammates." The scene shifts to a wide, scenic view of a walled town across a vast green field. Sitting alone on a rock outside the town, Carozo wonders what he'll do now, knowing he can't survive without a party. He despairs, feeling he can't bring himself to join another party after what happened. Ah! Carozo screams in frustration, startling another adventurer in the background. Suddenly, a massive B-rank beast appears, terrifying a nearby D-rank adventurer and his female companion, who panics over being unable to handle it. Whoosh! The female enchanter casts a strength enhancement on her friend, but he's immediately swatted away by the beast. No. The beast's enormous, fanged maw descends upon the two helpless adventurers. The beast lunges forward, and the two adventurers scream, bracing for the inevitable. A brilliant green aura erupts as the male adventurer somehow blocks the beast's attack with his shield. The empowered adventurer roars, pushing back against the beast with overwhelming force. He and his companion are completely baffled by his sudden and immense surge of power. The beast is thrown back, and the empowered adventurer stands defensively in front of the frightened girl. With a powerful swing, the adventurer slices into the beast, drawing blood with his enhanced strength. From a distance, Carozo watches, revealing that his enchantment is not just a mere +2/0. Carozo clarifies the truth of his power. It's a 20 times multiplier, not a simple addition. The two adventurers are in disbelief, stunned that a D rank like the boy could defeat a B rank beast as Kurozo looks on. Walking away from the scene, Kurozo reflects on how he tried to explain his power to his old party, but was never heard. As he walks through the woods, a mysterious, glowing woman in brilliant white armor appears silently behind him. Looking over a document, the black-haired boy sighs, realizing he must join a new clan to explore dungeons. The scene shifts to a verdant valley, revealing ancient, crumbling ruins nestled in the landscape. Within these ruins lie abundant resources, ancient knowledge, and dormant treasures left behind by a forgotten people. Through the research of these ruins, humanity evolves, revealing how the world functions. The boy, reviewing his stats, despairs over his 0 intelligence and worries no one will team up with him due to his chosen class and low strength. He laments that his 0 intelligence, which has never increased, limits him to only basic, weak enchantment magic. He concludes his low stats must be a side effect of his multiplicative magic, but is startled by an armored boot stepping beside him. The boy turns to the armored woman and sheepishly admits he was kicked out of his previous party. The woman is shocked to hear he was kicked out, declaring that his former party has no eye for talent. The boy recognizes her as Cynthia, who smiles and says it's been a while, calling him Desmond. Desmond is stunned, realizing with nostalgia that it has been 3 years since they left their hometown. He notices a plate on her armor and asks in shock if it's an S-rank identification tag. Cynthia admits she doesn't like to show it off, but Desmond insists she should be proud, as S-rank holders are incredibly rare. Blushing, Cynthia says she's glad to hear that from him, causing Desmond to blush as well. Desmond thinks to himself that Cynthia is still as beautiful as ever and notes she is now 17. He remembers a promise they made, but then feels awkward, assuming she's probably forgotten it by now. Standing on a rampart, Desmond mentions hearing about a new party of rookies who have already explored B-rank dungeons. Cynthia correctly guesses that it was possible, because Desmond was a member of that party. Desmond is confused, so Cynthia explains that his enchantment skills were always the best, which is why Espada performed so well, surprising him that she knew about his multiplication magic. Happy that she noticed his true power, Desmond listens as Cynthia says that with him being free, things can move quickly. Cynthia excitedly asks Desmond, calling him Des, what he thinks about joining her clan. A surprised Desmond learns from a blushing Cynthia that the clan's admission test is scheduled for tomorrow. Getting close, Cynthia confidently tells Desmond he'll pass and eagerly asks for his answer. Desmond feels it's a generous offer but doubts his chances as a D rank. Yet the idea of joining the clan of the person he admires sparks his resolve. He agrees to try, unsure if he'll pass, which makes Cynthia gasp with joy. Overjoyed, Cynthia declares they should go apply immediately. Although he feels mentally unprepared, Desmond is happy to see her so excited. Cynthia apologizes, realizing she hasn't mentioned her clan's name yet. She reveals her clan is the well-known Chevalier Garden, leaving Desmond utterly speechless with shock. As they arrive at an enormous and imposing building, narration reveals it's the headquarters for the largest and strongest clan in Briston. Chevalier Garden is known as the leading force, the one closest to conquering any unexplored S-rank dungeon. Overwhelmed, Desmond panics and stammers that he's changed his mind. Leaning close, Cynthia whispers for them to fulfill the promise they made as kids, causing Desmond to blush furiously. A flashback reveals their childhood promise to conquer an S-rank dungeon together, and Desmond realizes she remembered too. Despite the shared memory, Desmond still thinks it's impossible for him, as Cynthia pulls him toward the massive building. The scene transitions to the day of the exam at the Grand Clan headquarters. Inside a crowded hall, Desmond is awestruck by the sheer number of applicants, holding his exam number 55. The exam is explained. In groups of 4, applicants must defeat 10 goblins in a D-rank dungeon to pass. Desmond finds the exam content basic and scans the crowd, wondering if Cynthia is there. Whoosh! He is startled as 2 fellow applicants enthusiastically greet him from behind. A woman with glasses on a balcony announces a motivational greeting from Cynthia McDonald, the commander of the 1st Brigade. The other applicants buzz with excitement at seeing Cynthia Sama for the first time, while Desmond is stunned by the news. A stunning revelation hangs in the air. Cynthia McDonald is the 1st Brigade's commander. An organizational chart shows Chevalier Garden's structure, with the elite 1st Brigade being the strongest party of 5, led by Cynthia. As Cynthia steps onto the balcony, Desmond watches from the crowd in utter shock. Cynthia looks down upon the applicants with a stern and commanding presence. The crowd, including a starstruck Desmond, murmurs in awe at how beautiful their commander is. Cynthia welcomes the applicants, encouraging them to demonstrate their full abilities and complete the exam without regrets. Her speech ignites the crowd into a roaring cheer, while Desmond remains frozen in wide-eyed shock. The applicants mill about in the grand hall, their energy buzzing with anticipation. Admiring Cynthia from afar, Desmond resolves that if he passes, he will join the 1st Brigade. A woman in a white hood smiles warmly at Desmond, beginning to thank him. Ah! In a crowded hall, Desmond stumbles back in shock, shouting Cynthia's name, while a cloaked figure on the floor murmurs about his voice. The crowd of applicants, including the blonde-haired man from Desmond's old party, stares in stunned silence. The crowd buzzes, recognizing the beautiful Cynthia, while Desmond wonders why they know each other. Cynthia apologizes to Des, admitting she couldn't resist coming. Leaning in for a near kiss, Cynthia wishes Desmond good luck and promises to support him from behind the scenes, leaving him blushing and speechless. As Cynthia departs, Desmond wonders if she came just for him, feeling lucky, while members of his former party watch from the crowd. Filled with new purpose, Desmond declares he will pass the exam and join the same clan as Cynthia. Startled, Desmond is stopped by a blonde-haired girl in a red scarf who shouts for his attention. The girl excitedly confirms Desmond is number 55 and reveals she and her friend are too. Realizing they are his exam party, Desmond watches as the energetic blonde girl introduces herself as Rin, a swordsman, and a shy mage with glasses confirms she is also on the team. The mage introduces herself as Dorothy, showing her number 55 tag, and Desmond notes her quiet voice as the party assembles. A red-bearded dwarf named Garand introduces himself as their shield-bearer, also number 55, and Desmond nervously introduces himself back. Rin cheerfully greets Desmond, who tells her Des is fine, as the mismatched party gets acquainted. An examiner instructs party number 55 to enter the skull-shaped dungeon and defeat 10 goblins to pass. Rin lets out an energetic yes, prompting the examiner to comment on her spirit, while Desmond tries to calm her down. The examiner reveals to a shocked Desmond that their group, number 55, is considered the worst party of rookies in history. Staring at the ominous dungeon, Desmond despairs, wondering if he's just cursed with bad luck when it comes to parties. Inside the dungeon, Desmond rallies his team with confidence, assuring them they'll all pass if they trust him. He turns to a nervous Dorothy, instructing her to prepare her magic. Dorothy hesitates, explaining she only has one shot, and using it now means she'll fail the exam. Remembering Desmond's reassuring face and his plea to trust him, Dorothy finds her resolve. With Dorothy ready, Desmond signals to his teammates as she begins to channel her magic. Desmond instructs Rin to handle the approaching goblins, and she is shocked to learn she must face them all alone. Rin and Desmond share a look of grim determination. "Okay, leave it to me," Rin shouts, fearlessly charging toward the goblins with her sword drawn. Vowing not to let them through, Rin smirks as she fiercely slices through a goblin. With a powerful sweeping attack, Rin effortlessly cuts down a wave of goblins. Rin looks at the carnage in disbelief, amazed at her own incredible power. She realizes this is Desmond's power, as a notification reveals he cast Strength Enhancement Level 1 on her. As more goblins appear, Desmond instructs Garan to defend Dorothy, casting Vitality Enhancement Level 1 on him. Understood, Garand roars, bracing his glowing green shield as the goblins charge. Garand easily blocks the goblins' attacks, shielding a frightened Dorothy from harm. Her resolve firm, Dorothy begins to channel powerful blue magic through her staff. Desmond asks Dorothy if she sees the passage on the right side as she gathers her energy. Confused by his question, Dorothy asks what he means by enhance. Desmond casts Mental Strength Enhancement and Intelligence Enhancement on Dorothy. A system window shows Dorothy's water magic has leveled up, and she stares in shock at her staff's increased power. No! Overwhelmed by the surging power, Dorothy panics, begging Desmond to stop as she loses control of the massive spell. Blushing and breathless, Dorothy admits the power is amazing, but feels like she's about to break. Desmond leans close, reassuring her that it's okay and asking her to trust him. A flustered and wide-eyed Dorothy stares back, her expression a mix of terror and awe. Dorothy unleashes a massive Water Ball Bullet Level 3. Holding the dizzy Dorothy, Desmond notes they've killed 7 goblins and need 10 to pass. A map of the dungeon shows Desmond's strategy. He used enhanced scent to locate more goblins in an adjacent room. By enhancing the spell's range and power, he aims to clear the exam. As a goblin looks up at the incoming attack, the enhanced water bullet streaks through the cave, wiping out the distant goblins in a massive blast. Desmond confirms their success as the light from the explosion fades. Pleased with the result, he sweat drops, thinking he may have overdone it with Dorothy's power boost as the magic erupts. The scene transitions to a peaceful view of the forest outside the dungeon. Desmond sits awkwardly with his party as a guilty Garand apologizes for going too far, holding a chunk of the cave ceiling he accidentally broke. Overwhelmed by his new, enthusiastic party, a flustered Desmond wonders if everything is going to be all right. As a tiny Desmond worries they'll be disqualified for destroying the dungeon, the examiner calmly reassures him that it's okay. The examiner joyfully declares that the entire party has passed, leaving them all stunned. Desmond realizes he forgot about the stunned examiners, who note Party 55 was the fastest to finish. Handing Desmond-kun a pass, the examiner marvels at the D-Rank's power, admitting it has shaken his own confidence as a B-Rank enchanter. Ahahaha, Desmond laughs triumphantly, holding their sulfur monosulfide ranked pass, overjoyed that his team passed the entrance exam. Narration explains the Dread Skull dungeon was once a B-Rank location, but was thoroughly explored after its dungeon heart was destroyed. Now a D-Rank dungeon filled with weak monsters, it reminds Desmond of his time with Adel, where he always received the smallest share of the rewards. As Rin and Garen celebrate, Desmond recalls the examiner's words and wonders why they were called the worst party in history. Gah! Just as he worries his teammates are strange, Rin tackles him from behind, enthusiastically yelling Des-kyun. Pinning him down, a cheerful Rin asks why he has a scary face and if he's hungry. To cheer him up, Rin offers a confused Desmond her snack as a special treat. Rin proudly declares her special treat is delicious, while Desmond sweat drops, thinking he hasn't even eaten it yet. A painful memory surfaces of his old party, ordering him around for water and healing potions, calling him useless. He stares at the snack, recalling he never even had time to eat properly with his former party. Dorothy timidly offers Desmond-kun water, while Garand offers medicine, showing their concern. Touched by their kindness, Desmond asks his new teammates why they decided to take the Chevalier Garden exam. Hee. Rin proudly puffs out her chest, revealing she's the third daughter of a rural noble family. She explains that while she dreamed of being an adventurer, her parents insisted she get married instead. To prove them wrong, Rin vows to become the world's greatest adventurer, and Desmond turns to ask Garen-san his reason for wanting to be a shield bearer. Do I need a reason to protect people? Garand asks, striking a pose so cool it shines. Blushing, Dorothy explains her adoptive parents are in the clan and she wants to pass the exam to repay their kindness. Desmond praises her reason, but a flustered Dorothy hides her face, thinking someone like her should just die, which puzzles him. Secretly motivated by Cynthia, Desmond rallies the party to do their best together, vowing to pass the exam and report his success. Ugh, Garand dramatically collapses after pointing out a speck of dust on Desmond's shoulder. The party stares in confusion as Garen lies motionless on the dungeon floor. Desmond laughs, telling Garand-san to stop exaggerating and wake up, assuming it's just a bad joke. The party's amusement turns to horror as they realize Garand-san isn't joking. Garand laughs it off, but Rin scolds the old man, reminding him they don't have many healing potions. Garand apologizes, admitting he tries to be careful, as a horrified Desmond realizes this might be a regular occurrence. Analyzing Rin-san's stats, Desmond is shocked to see her strength is only 6, barely enough to defeat a single goblin. He then sees Garand-san's vitality is a pitiful 3, and thinks a single hit from a cat could kill him. He's relieved to see Dorothy-san has 10 intelligence, allowing her to use level-based attack magic. Desmond compliments Dorothy-san on her magic, but she shyly responds that she'll die. She explains it's because she has almost no mana and can only use magic once a day. A stat window confirms Dorothy has only 8 megapixels, and the terrible truth dawns on Desmond. This is the worst party in history. He summarizes the problem. An attacker who can't defeat a single enemy, a shield bearer who falls with a single hit, and a mage who can only use magic once a day. Panicking, Desmond knows he must quickly enhance everyone or they'll be wiped out and fail the exam. Oh, just then, Rin spots a horde of goblins, realizing they're in big trouble. Desmond yells for everyone to hold their ground as he prepares to cast his enhancement magic. Believing the one who strikes first wins, Rin recklessly charges the goblins, exclaiming, "This is bad." Ugh. With her low strength, Rin's attack fails, and she's knocked to the ground. While Rin-san tries to play it cool, a frantic Desmond yells that she's fighting a weak D-rank monster, and he hasn't cast his spell yet. Scree Goblin lunges toward a distracted Desmond-kun, and Garan yells for him to watch out. Plop. Garan trips over his own feet and faceplants while trying to protect Desmond. With his party in shambles, Desmond grits his teeth, knowing he has to do something. From the floor, Garan gives a thumbs up, repeating his cool line about not needing a reason to save people. Holding their last healing potion, Desmond reminds Garen-kun to be careful, and the dwarf sheepishly apologizes. Panicking, Desmond clutches their last healing potion, realizing they're out and wondering what to do. Spiraling into a panic, Desmond realizes they're doomed without a healer, just as someone screams his name. Without warning, Rin shoves a stunned Desmond to the ground, taking his place against the charging goblins. As the goblins cackle, Desmond looks on in horror, calling out to Rin, who is now surrounded. Ouch! Desmond scolds the dazed Rin for her recklessness, reminding her that she's an attacker, not a defender. With a confident wink, Rin declares she couldn't just stand by while her teammates were in danger. Desmond worries that her unskilled defense could permanently injure her, ending her dream of holding a sword. He passionately reminds Rin of her dream, and she concedes he's right, though she still seems conflicted. A panicked Dorothy interrupts, announcing that a group of 7 goblins is approaching them. Stepping to the front, Garan raises his shield and roars for his comrades to fall back. No, Garan-san. Desmond yells, warning him that another hit will be fatal since they have no potions left. Garan admits he isn't strong, but says he doesn't mind falling if it's for his comrades' sake. He smiles with noble resolve, declaring that even his corpse can serve as a shield for the party. Dorothy nervously reminds them that she is only able to cast a single magic spell. She worries that using her one spell on these 7 goblins means she won't be able to defeat 10 and will fail the exam. Desmond kneels, reminding her of her promise to her parents, and her hand tightens on her staff as she hesitates. Tearing up, Dorothy declares that passing the exam by abandoning her new comrades would be completely meaningless. A confused Rin wonders why she's so committed, reminding her they only just met for the exam. Does the time we've known each other really matter? Rin asks, leaving Desmond touched by their conviction. Wow. As the goblin horde swarms them, Rin grins with excitement, shouting that they've finally arrived. Garand grits his teeth, bracing his shield for the incoming goblin assault. Rin and Dorothy cry out in alarm for the old man as he prepares to face the horde. Grah! A sudden watery shield erupts around Garand, effortlessly blocking the surprised goblin's attack. Stunned, Garand wonders if he repelled the enemies with his defense alone, but quickly realizes something else is at play. The party turns to see Desmond channeling green magic, and Garand asks if this incredible power is his. Desmond looks on with fierce, unwavering determination. Glowing with power, Desmond rallies his team, telling them to trust him and declaring they will all pass the exam together. The scene shifts to the grand exterior of the Chevalier Garden headquarters. Inside, a kind receptionist informs them they are now official members of the Chevalier Garden and wishes them well. Desmond stares at his pass in shock, with a curious Dorothy and Rin peering over his shoulders. Rin celebrates, wildly ecstatic that they've all passed the exam together. Rin gives a flustered Desmond a big hug, giving him all the credit, but a flashback reminds him of his bitter past. The newly formed party stands together in the bustling main hall, surrounded by other adventurers. As he observes the other adventurers, Desmond gets a strange feeling that something is wrong. Desmond, Rin, and Dorothy look around the hall, sensing the strange atmosphere. Whispers fill the hall as adventurers gossip about Party 55, marveling at the powerful enchanter who pinpointed and wiped out enemies, some even calling him the Demon King's reincarnation. Rin proudly tells a flustered Desmond that he's the talk of the town and shouldn't be so modest. Garan-san earnestly agrees, praising Desmond's amazing magic and reaffirming that their success is all thanks to him. Desmond deflects the praise, insisting he's just a support and that they passed because they all work together as a team. Overcome with emotion, Rin suddenly proposes marriage, leaving a stunned Desmond shouting, "Why?" Regaining his composure, Desmond states that he supposes this is where their temporary party must go its separate ways. Dorothy sadly agrees they were just a temporary party, but hesitates, unable to hide her disappointment. Rin interrupts, pointing out that her guild card assigns her to party number 55, and they all realize their cards say the same thing. The party celebrates in chibi form, realizing they're officially sticking together. Nice to meet you all again, Rin cheers as a thankful Desmond reassures an embarrassed Dorothy that her words were very kind. Beaming with joy, Rin eagerly suggests they all go out and celebrate their new official status. Rin proposes a celebratory drink, and while Desmond considers a victory party, Garand heartily agrees. As Rin excitedly leads the party away, Desmond lingers, thinking he wanted to report to Cynthia but can't. He sighs, realizing he doesn't even know where Cynthia is and that their social circles have grown too far apart to meet easily. The scene transitions to a bustling medieval town, then focuses on the entrance to a lively tavern. Inside, the tavern is filled with adventurers eating, drinking, and chatting merrily. Well then, a hand raises a frothy mug of ale, ready for a toast. Clank, Rin leads a toast to celebrate their meeting and victory, and the whole party cheers, clinking their mugs together. Rin, Desmond, Garand, and a beaming Dorothy all enjoy their drinks, happy to be celebrating together. Suddenly, a hooded figure with white hair appears at their table, leaving Desmond and Rin to wonder, who is this? A flustered Desmond tells the stranger they're celebrating, while Rin politely points out that other seats are available. Desmond squints in recognition, realizing who the hooded figure might be and asking if it's Cynthia. A flustered Dorothy recognizes Cynthia-sama, but the hooded girl denies her identity as the whole table erupts in confusion. Dorothy blushes furiously, asking Desmond why he's addressing the esteemed Cynthia-sama so informally and questioning their relationship. Cynthia apologizes for interrupting, explaining she's known Desmond since they were kids and came to celebrate his passing the exam. A shocked Dorothy realizes they're childhood friends and quickly panics, telling Cynthia not to misunderstand her previous comments. Cynthia clarifies that Desmond passed on his own ability, not favoritism, and Rin wholeheartedly agrees with her. Rin cheerfully hugs a startled Desmond, calling him Des-kyun and declaring that they know his amazing talent best. A shocked and blushing Cynthia can't believe Rin is so close to Desmond, while Dorothy explains that Cynthia-sama is their incredibly strong and amazing leader. Dorothy tries to de-escalate, suggesting they relax with the formalities, since they're all here to celebrate. Cynthia smirks at Rin, pointedly asking if she can truly claim to know Desmond best just because they've partied up. That's not true, Rin retorts, declaring that since they risked their lives together, she understands him more than anyone. A fierce rivalry ignites between Cynthia and Rin, leaving a terrified Desmond caught in the crossfire. Garand announces the food has arrived, but stops, realizing the tense atmosphere isn't right for a victory celebration. An extremely uncomfortable Desmond sits between Cynthia and Rin as they both try to feed him. Cynthia and Rin argue over what food is best for Des-kyun, with one suggesting something light and the other something rich. Dorothy steps in, scolding the two for making Desmond-san uncomfortable with their bickering. With a smile, Dorothy offers her own advice. When tired, it's best to drink milk, which helps no one. While Garand happily eats pasta, a weary Desmond tries to say he can eat by himself, but he's completely ignored. Rin and Cynthia lean in, demanding that Des-kyun choose carefully. Cynthia and Ren argue over who he should choose, his childhood friend or his party member. Blushing, Rin asks Desmond if he's going to eat her, leaving him stunned and asking Rin-san. Desmond reminds a blushing Rin of the context and the food she's holding, trying to get the conversation back on track. A flustered Cynthia reacts to Rin's boldness, and Desmond sighs, exclaiming, "Even you, Cynthia?" Blushing, Cynthia wishes Desmond would direct that boldness at her, then slams her hand down, declaring they're getting nowhere. Rin and Cynthia square off, deciding to settle here and now who will be chosen by Des, as he just wants to eat. Distracted by the food, the girls begin eating, with Rin exclaiming one dish is hot, while Cynthia declares another is tasty. The victory celebration devolves into a massive feast, as the party, led by Rin, orders plate after plate of food. As Rin reaches for a dish, a massive stack of plates teeters precariously, and Desmond shouts for her to watch out. Cynthia and Rin stare intensely, wondering which of them Desmond will choose to protect from the falling plates. Desmond uses Garand's head as a shield to block the falling plate, protecting them both. The two girls realize with horror that if the plate had hit Garand, he would have died. Rin comically declares Garand the true enemy and shakes him, telling him to stop making Des-kyun call her that. The rivalry forgotten, Rin happily drapes her arm around Cynthia, calling her Kenyan-chan, and inviting her to drink until they drop. Later that night, a very drunk and happy Rin is completely passed out. As Garand carries the sleeping Rin, Dorothy comments that it was chaotic, but a fun night. Desmond walks alongside Cynthia, thanking her for coming to celebrate with them. In the background, Rin happily mumbles that this was her first time celebrating with comrades. Desmond smiles warmly, telling Cynthia he's truly happy and glad she came. A blushing Cynthia agrees, saying she's glad she came and happy they're now in the same clan. Haha, Desmond laughs, pointing out that their respective brigades, the 1st and 5th, are actually quite far apart. Cynthia confidently tells him he'll be in the 1st Brigade soon enough, leaving Desmond to protest that her praise is too much. When Desmond says her praise is too much, a serious Cynthia insists she's not just being polite. Cynthia smiles, adding she's glad his party members seem like pleasant people. In the background, Dorothy watches over a passed-out Rin who is being carried by Garand. Cynthia notes that his party had some issues with their attitude toward her as a senior, and a nervous Desmond promises to talk to Rin. Cynthia smiles, saying it was fun celebrating with everyone, but trails off with a thoughtful expression. A surprised Desmond asks what's wrong, but Cynthia quickly dismisses it as nothing. Now in full armor, Cynthia smiles under the moonlight, telling Desmond she'll be counting on him starting tomorrow. Blushing deeply, Cynthia softly calls out to Des-kun. The next day, the scene shifts to a bright, bustling town street. The party arrives at a large building, seemingly an item or alchemy shop. Inside, someone marvels at the amazing and wide collection of potions on display. Dorothy excitedly points out the various healing, antidote, and anti-paralysis potions to Desmond. Desmond and Dorothy agree that for their first official mission, they need to be fully prepared. Desmond asks Dorothy if they should split the cost of the items, leaving her momentarily surprised. Dorothy cheerfully explains that the clan will cover the expenses if she submits a receipt, leaving Desmond stunned. Desmond reflects on his time with Espada, where he paid for everything, realizing how generous the Chevalier Garden is. As they browse, Desmond brings up his old clan, Espada. He looks into the distance, wondering what his former comrade, Adele, is doing now. The scene shifts to a different party at an excavation site in the Bristol Northern District. A blonde-haired man grunts as a horde of goblins roars and charges toward them. The party's swordsman, Adel, asks his shield-bearing companion what's going on. Gra. A goblin lunges as a party member cries out, wondering why they're struggling against simple goblins. Whoa! Adele barely reacts in time as another goblin swings its club at him. Adele grits his teeth, barely managing to block the goblin's assault with his sword. Adele is violently thrown back by a powerful blow. The party's red-haired mage screams, "Adele!" as the rest of the group watches in shock. Eek. The red-haired mage looks on nervously as the goblins close in around them. The party descends into chaos as the red-haired woman berates the shield-bearer and questions their magic user, who insists she's also busy fighting. The shield-bearer snaps at the pink-haired mage for only using magic once, but she retorts that she can't, as an injured Adele groans on the ground. Amidst the chaos, a desperate voice shouts for everyone to retreat, using a teleportation magic book. Gasp. Gasp. The exhausted party, Adele, the red-haired woman, the shield-bearer, and the pink-haired mage catch their breath after a narrow escape. Adele angrily questions how they struggled in a C-rank dungeon against goblins, the weakest monsters, when they were clearing B-rank dungeons before. The shield-bearer worries they entered an S-rank dungeon by mistake, but the pink-haired mage dismisses it, suggesting they're just not feeling well. As the pink-haired mage asks if they're okay, Adele realizes the rumors about them were completely different from reality. Enraged, Adele confronts the pink-haired mage, blaming her for their struggle because her enhancement magic isn't working and telling her to do her job. The pink-haired mage fires back, refusing to be blamed and claiming it's their own incompetence. The blonde shield-bearer, Carozo, thinks to himself that Adele can't stop the enemies at all. The red-haired woman, Marina, notes that their mage only used low-level magic a few times. The pink-haired mage scoffs at the so-called Espada, calling them weaklings and telling them not to blame her for their incompetence. Adele clenches his teeth in fury, demanding to know what she just said. He lunges forward and grabs her, threatening to kill the cocky amateur. Struggling against his grip, the pink-haired mage tells him to stop. With a single motion, she effortlessly sends Adele flying backward. Thud! Ouch! Adele slams hard against a large rock, rubble crumbling around him. Adele lies on the ground, battered and groaning in pain. The pink-haired mage smiles smugly, feigning confusion. Ha 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 ha. She laughs, mocking Adele's weakness and his inability to even take a defensive stance as he glares up at her. You don't have to fire me. HMPH. The pink-haired mage announces she refuses to work with such a useless group and storms off, leaving them behind. Adele punches the ground in frustration, lamenting the trouble he's had with enchanters, thinking of both this one and his past with Desmond. Fuming, Adele clutches his face, thinking that all enchanters are useless and annoying. The scene shifts to a grand, imposing castle under a bright blue sky. Desmond's eyes sparkle with determination as he thinks about their first mission. He visualizes the brigade hierarchy, hoping to work hard and one day join Cynthia and the prestigious 1st Brigade. In the clan hall, Desmond and Rin exchange morning greetings with Dorothy, who cheerfully declares she'll do her best. Desmond speculates about their first mission, noting the 5th Brigade's odd jobs, while Dorothy predicts a simple dungeon search. Rin confidently declares it will be an easy task they can clear quickly, but Dorothy warns her not to underestimate their first job. Ha ha ha, Desmond laughs, genuinely happy to be exploring with his new team. A sense of fun and excitement builds as the mission is about to begin. But when they enter the main hall, they're met by a massive, tense crowd of adventurers, much to their surprise. Dorothy senses something is off with the clan, and Garen notices the other adventurers are whispering amongst themselves. Rin cheerfully assumes the whispers are about their party's record-breaking exam performance and boasts about their goblin kill count. However, Desmond's worried expression reveals he doesn't share her optimistic view of the situation. Desmond overhears a nearby adventurer complaining that their group is being looked down upon. The crowd erupts in anger, accusing Desmond's party of cheating and using favoritism, shouting for the pathetic party to get lost. Desmond quickly tries to calm the situation, pleading that it's all a misunderstanding, and they didn't cheat. Suddenly, a booming voice from the balcony calls out, "All right, that's enough," silencing the crowd. The resentful adventurers turn their attention upward toward the source of the commanding voice. A man on the balcony introduces himself as Brandt, captain of the 5th Brigade, leaving Desmond and Dorothy stunned. Desmond thinks in disbelief, unable to accept that this person is their captain. His credibility plummets as the completely drunk captain slurs, telling everyone to just call him Brachan. As the vice captain begs him to pull himself together, Brandt just drunkenly notes he's being called out. Shaking off his stupor for a moment, the captain announces their mission is to search the Mesville ice cave. The crowd murmurs in shock, realizing the target is the Gem of Wisdom, a B-grade item. The captain claims to have multiplication enhancement magic but still doubts their success, while a nervous Desmond wonders if this is okay. The captain smirks, explaining this is the policy of the Chevalier, and they must learn what it means to be part of the group. A confused Desmond wonders about the meaning behind the captain's cryptic words. The narration reflects on the Chevalier's massive scale as one of the largest organizations in Bristol. The horrible truth dawns on the crowd as they realize the captain means they are seen as nothing more than disposable pawns. "You are replacements," the captain states coldly, confirming their fears and inciting an adventurer's rage as Desmond looks on, shocked. He resolves that he doesn't want to dedicate his life to a corrupt, exploitative black organization. The adventurer's anger boils over, accusing the leadership of being high and mighty, while Rin trembles at the scary, tense atmosphere. A diagram illustrates the 6 parties involved, with Desmond's group designated as number 55 among them. To prevent chaos, the captain announces a leader will be assigned whom everyone must obey like a dog. Teask, the adventurers see that being treated like idiots, while Desmond can only think, wow. The air is too heavy, and Desmond nervously thinks this plan will never work, hoping he isn't chosen as the leader. But his worst fear comes true as the captain names the leader, the party of Desmond, Rin, Garand, and Dorothy. The drunken captain gives a sloppy wave, slurring, "Well then, nice to meet you." Desmond freezes, a terrified, strained smile plastered on his face as everyone stares at him. Eek. The scene cuts back to the imposing castle as they prepare to depart. Reviewing the mission details, Dorothy confirms to the party that the ice cave is indeed a high-difficulty B-rank dungeon. "Wow!" Desmond exclaims as he and Dorothy marvel at the sight of the ever-expanding ice dungeon around them. Inside an icy dungeon, a voice expresses amazement at the ice-covered interior, while another notes it's an artificial dungeon made by ancient people. A fanged, blonde-haired girl named Rin tells her party to stay alert, but the dark-haired mage with glasses seems to have a reservation. Rin happily notes she isn't cold, despite the icy air, and the party's dwarf agrees with her observation. Desmond proudly explains that he has cast a cold resistance enhancement spell on everyone in the party. Rin is surprised they won't feel cold, And the dark-haired mage is impressed by Desmond's ability as he explains it will help them move better and save on expenses. Desmond gives a thumbs up, reassuring them that while the spell isn't permanent, it will last long enough for their dungeon exploration. A cheerful Rin hugs Desmond's arm, jokingly calling him a human heating appliance and saying she wants him at her house. Desmond sternly reminds Rin that this is a high-difficulty dungeon, and they must not let their guard down. Thump. Without warning, someone kicks Desmond forcefully from behind. As Desmond hits the ground, a shocked Rin rushes to his side, crying out his name. Rin angrily confronts a large man with spiky hair, demanding to know what he's doing, but he retorts that he should be asking her that. The spiky-haired man Garen furiously accuses them of flirting, instead of exploring, frustratedly declaring that this isn't a game. Garand angrily dismisses them as a party that joined through connections and furiously tells them to get lost. An indignant Rin argues back that it's not a connection, while Garand stubbornly insists that it is. As Desmond looks on in pain, Garand's party accuses them of cheating their way into being chosen as leaders through their connections. Garen rallies the other adventurers, shouting that he can't trust his life to them and demanding the fake party with connections get out and die. Desmond tries to calm the hostile crowd, but an annoyed Rin complains about all the noise. With sudden resolve, Rin declares they will prove their capabilities, much to Desmond's panicked surprise. Rin challenges the hostile party to a fight to prove her skills, causing Desmond to panic as he realizes she's serious. Garand angrily accepts her challenge, and his party members look on with aggression while Desmond shrinks back in fear. As Desmond's small party stands ready, a voice from their group encourages them to go for it. The large mob charges, shouting to throw them out, while Desmond desperately pleads for them to stop, reminding them they are allies. Rin smirks confidently, ready for the confrontation as a worried Desmond looks on. Desmond suddenly panics, his eyes swirling as he realizes a critical detail about his enchantment. Oof. As one of the men taunts Desmond for protecting his friends, another punches him in the face, accusing him of using connections to get in. Desmond screams as he is sent flying, while his party members are shown easily fending off the other attackers who complain about their strength. Garan lunges forward, preparing to strike a defiant Rin. Rin intercepts his attack with a powerful and direct kick to his face. Stunned, Garand silently clenches his fists in disbelief and anger. Garand grunts in frustration that his attack had no effect, while Rin stands over him with a note indicating she has 6 lives left. Rin confidently asks if he's the Iron Wall, then cheekily admits she doesn't really use defense, leaving the other adventurers dumbfounded. Convinced they are weak and only got in through connections, the annoyed adventurers shout to catch them and rush forward. Several men manage to grab Rin, who struggles against their hold with a grunt. The other adventurers overwhelm the rest of the party, grabbing the dark-haired mage and the dwarf. A man with a red mohawk pins Desmond down, deciding to throw them out, while Desmond desperately thinks he has to act quickly. The dark-haired mage, held captive, cries out in distress for her friends. With his entire party now restrained, Desmond begs the aggressors to stop fighting. The captors mock them, refusing to forgive them, but the dark-haired mage has a realization, thinking that the floor must be a trap. A few of the aggressors look up, sensing something is wrong after all the commotion. Garand and his party look around in confusion, wondering what's happening. Crack! The icy floor suddenly shatters beneath the feet of the larger party. One of the men grunts as the ground gives way beneath them. Desmond's party stands safely on a stable platform as the other adventurers begin to fall. The aggressors scream in terror as they plummet, realizing too late that the floor is gone. They fall toward a deadly pit of razor-sharp ice spikes, a hidden trap now revealed. The members of the large party fall helplessly toward their doom. The sharp, glistening tips of the ice spikes wait below. With a sickening splatter of blood, the entire group is impaled, as one survivor looks on in horror before meeting the same fate. Garand stares in shock at the massacre below, realizing with horror that his entire party has been annihilated. A hand glowing with green energy reaches down toward the field of deadly ice spikes. Desmond, Garand, and their party stare down into the pit, stunned and aghast. Bathed in a green glow, the fallen adventurers realize they're alive, expressing their shared disbelief and relief. Garand is amazed to find he took no damage at all. Instead, the ice spike shattered against him. The formerly doomed adventurers celebrate wildly amidst the broken spikes, cheering that they are all safe. Relieved but confused, Garand wonders how they survived, while Desmond looks on with a knowing smirk. Garand's party looks down from the edge of the pit at the glowing figure who saved them. Lying battered on the ice, a smiling Desmond holds his glowing staff, the source of the protective magic. Looking up from the deadly pit, Garand and his party stare in awe at their saviors. Desmond explains he cast a body enhancement spell on everyone just in time, but warns it is temporary. Urgently, Garand tells his party they need to find a way out quickly, as Desmond warns of other potential traps. Garand shouts for a rope to pull everyone up, and one of his men quickly responds. Having escaped the spike pit, the adventurers all rest safely on the stable, icy ground. Garand calls out to confirm everyone is safe, and Desmond's red-nosed companion confirms their retreat is complete. The entire group gathers around the kneeling Desmond as Rin and Meryl rush to his side, worriedly asking if he's all right. Garand watches in thought as Jin realizes that while being beaten, Desmond was trying to cast a spell, assuming it was for his own party. Jin recalls Desmond being attacked while desperately trying to cast a spell, now understanding he was trying to protect his aggressors. Kneeling in exhaustion, Desmond remembers his only thought was to protect everyone, even those attacking him. Garand and his men look on, their expressions shifting to guilt and dawning respect. A flashback shows Desmond's earlier plea, asking if they weren't all meant to be comrades. Desmond apologizes for using so many items already, but Rin reassures him that it's fine. Rin bows apologetically, blaming herself for not listening to Desmond, who looks startled by her sincerity. Overwhelmed Desmond is showered with recovery items from the remorseful adventurers as compensation for their actions. Desmond stares in shock at the pile of recovery items, as Rin cheekily shows her now empty pockets. A sheepish Garand approaches Desmond, awkwardly apologizing for getting so worked up earlier. Extending his hand, Garand acknowledges Desmond's abilities and asks to work together as true comrades. Stunned into silence, Desmond and his party look on as hearts flutter around the newly humbled Garand. The men who attacked him now apologize profusely, affectionately calling him Des-kun, much to Desmond's flustered surprise. Now united, the adventurers stand together, ready to continue their exploration of the icy dungeon. A mysterious purple-haired woman observes the group from afar, noting they must be the rumored top applicants and eyeing the men. The adventurers gather as one asks their leader what to do, while another expresses doubt they can clear a B-rank dungeon. Desmond agrees, quietly acknowledging that he has just realized how truly dangerous the dungeon is. Raising his finger, Desmond proposes a plan to simply avoid enemies and traps, leaving Garand and his companion confused. Desmond reveals his strategy with newfound confidence. They will destroy the dungeon core itself. He explains that destroying the core weakens the dungeon and its monsters, just like in their entrance exam. Garand understands the goal is to destroy the core, but a thought bubble reveals his concern about the search it would require. Desmond explains that searching would be inefficient, since they're competing with other parties in the dungeon. Garand and his companion agree, realizing another team could destroy the core and take the treasure before them. After a moment of thought, Desmond makes a surprising decision and announces they will split up. Desmond outlines his strategy. His small party will hunt the core while the others focus on treasure and defense. Revealing their goal is the Gem of Wisdom, Desmond finalizes the plan. Garand's party agrees, trusting him to handle it. As he turns to leave, Desmond reassures himself that his multiplication enchantment spell will be enough. Desmond explains to Garand that he believes this split was the clan leader's intention all along. Two of Garand's men express their paranoia, worried they're just being used as disposable pawns who will be replaced if they die. Desmond looks troubled, hoping that Cynthia's clan, the Chevalier Garden, isn't as ruthless as they fear. All right, let's do our best, everyone, Desmond shouts, rallying the two groups to succeed in their search. With renewed determination, the adventurers split up and head into the dungeon corridors. Desmond quickly stops Rin from heading down a dangerous path, pointing them toward a safer route. As his party proceeds, Desmond reminds them to stay vigilant for enemies and traps. Following his team, Desmond quietly thinks to himself that he's glad about the recent turn of events. The party's dwarf smiles, stating he's glad they were able to make peace with the other adventurers. Desmond smiles warmly, recalling Garand's support. He remembers the initial hostility from other parties, who accused them of cheating to become the leader party. He reflects that after talking, he realized everyone was much kinder than he'd first thought. Surrounded by his newfound comrades, Desmond realizes that making friends makes him truly happy. Back in the present, Desmond tells his party that for everyone's sake, their plan cannot fail. A diagram illustrates his point. If they don't destroy the dungeon core, everyone will be wiped out. He apologizes to his party for taking on such a dangerous role, but asks for their strength. Desmond speaks with heartfelt determination. Rallying his team, Rin laughs brightly, readily agreeing to help, as Dorothy smiles in support. Rin teases a shy Desmond, telling him to say, "Let's do it together," as the party stands united. Desmond and Rin share a determined look, ready for the challenge ahead. Suddenly, a woman with short purple hair approaches and asks if her group can accompany them. A flustered Desmond asks who they are, as the woman's spiky-haired male companion looks on. The new arrivals introduce themselves to Desmond's party as party number 24. Confused, Desmond asks what she means by accompany, and she replies that it's just as she said. The purple-haired woman explains that it would be dangerous for them alone and safer if they joined forces. You. She pulls a blushing Desmond into an embrace, calling him Deskyun and saying she's taken a liking to him. The other party's man tries to recruit Desmond, prompting Rin and his teammates to angrily shout at them not to steal their member. The purple-haired woman, still holding a dizzy Desmond, says she now understands he's the source of their power, despite his weak teammates. Rin shouts in protest as the woman pities Deskyun for being stuck with weaklings. The purple-haired woman suggests that if Desmond's party truly cares for him, they should let him go. As Dorothy and Garand watch in silence, a fist clenches in anger. Desmond addresses the woman as Meryl-san, insisting that her assessment of his party is not true. Rin furiously tells Meryl not to act so high and mighty, possessively declaring that Desmond is hers. Meryl scoffs at Rin, claiming that despite being the same rank, she is on a completely different level than Rin's trash strength. While Rin fumes, Desmond comically asks for clarification on what kind of garbage she's referring to. Desmond explains to Meryl's companion that Meryl is stubborn once she's made up her mind. The other adventurers note how popular Desmond is, much to his confusion. Meryl and Rin get into a heated argument, trading insults about charm and appearance. Deciding to stay out of it, Desmond reflects that making friends isn't always a happy experience, as the girls argue over him. Rin and Meryl corner Desmond, demanding he choose which party he will join. Desmond nervously watches Rin, caught in the middle of their fight, rumble. As he tries to mediate, a powerful tremor shakes the entire ice cave, interrupting the argument. Everyone looks around in alarm, wondering about the source of the loud sound. Desmond spots something in the distance and urgently warns Rin, who has already started running, that it's dangerous. As Desmond prepares to chase Rin, Meryl calls out to him. Meryl grabs Desmond's arm, urging him to come with her party instead. She pressures him, asking if he doesn't prefer stronger members over weak ones. Desmond looks at her and her party, firmly stating that's not true. He explains with a smile that their supposed weakness is precisely what makes his teammates great. Desmond has a flash of insight, finally understanding the captain's cynical words about D-rank adventurers being disposable pawns. A voice cries out that the situation is bad, and Desmond looks ahead with concern. Taking command, Desmond declares that their two groups will lead the assault on the dungeon core together. The two parties proceed deeper into the frozen corridors, following Desmond's lead. Wah! Upon entering a new area, an adventurer notices the temperature has dropped so sharply that his potion is clicking and cracking. Crack. The potion bottle freezes solid and shatters in his hand as he cries out in alarm. Rin calls out for Desmond to come and look at what she's found ahead. A massive, single-eyed golem made of crystalline ice emerges from the cavern wall. The adventurers stare in stunned silence, wondering what kind of monster they're facing. Meryl's companion shouts in disbelief, realizing they've encountered the dungeon boss. A spiky, blue-furred ice wolf growls menacingly at the dungeon boss. The massive, one-eyed ice golem stares impassively at its challenger. With a brutal smash, the golem effortlessly crushes the ice wolf, which cries out in its final moments. The adventurers, including a stunned Desmond and a worried Rin, watch in horrified silence at the display of overwhelming power. The group stares in awe and trepidation at the imposing wall of ice before them, muttering, "Yikes." Garand shouts that it's a monster and they should run, but Rin urges him to wait and look closer. Behind the colossal ice golem, a brilliant pillar of light reveals the location of the dungeon core. The party despairs, with Garand exclaiming they have to defeat the boss to reach the core, a feat they all deem impossible. A confident voice from off-screen declares, "It's okay," as the boys look on in surprise. Rin throws her arm around a flustered Desmond, boasting that with his enchantment magic, the boss will go down in one hit. An analytical grid appears over the golem's leg, scanning its properties. A status screen reveals the monster's name, ice armor doll and its terrifyingly high stats, particularly its 1,350 vitality. Desmond explains with a serious expression that while his enchantment magic multiplies stats, there's a catch. Garen asks if they still can't defeat it even with his magic, and Desmond quietly confirms they can't. Desmond apologizes to the party, explaining that even if he multiplies their power, their base stats are simply too low to overcome the boss. An adventurer asks what they should do now that the core is guarded, wondering if the mission is a failure. Desmond reveals a new plan. While they can't defeat the boss, they can block its attacks. He announces he will use Vitality Enhancement to boost everyone's defense, and a tiny, powered-up Rin flexes enthusiastically. With boosted defenses, Rin can tank the boss's attacks, allowing them to bypass it and break the core. Rin playfully smacks the golem's massive leg, completely unfazed by the behemoth. Durand recalls the protective power of Desmond's enchantment from earlier, admitting it was impressive, but still showing doubt. Desmond nervously insists it will be fine, while Garand thinks to himself that Rin has some serious guts for rushing in. Smiling, Desmond explains that he's checked everyone's stats, and when it comes to defense, his expression becomes serious as he looks ahead, sensing something is amiss. Desmond turns to see Rin is gone and calls out her name in confusion. Wah! Rin charges ahead recklessly, shouting for Daeskyun to hurry and use his enhancement magic. The party erupts in panic, with Garan yelling at Rin for being an idiot while Desmond frantically tries to cast the spell. Meryl watches, acknowledging the amazing power of Desmond's magic, but questioning Rin's blind faith in charging ahead. Rin lunges at the ice golem, sword drawn, shouting, "Die!" The golem's single eye narrows, focusing its cold glare on the approaching warrior. As the party panics that Rin has been noticed, Dorothy urges Desmond to hurry, and he frantically agrees to cast the spell now. Desmond looks down in confusion, wondering why his enhancement magic isn't activating. The problem is revealed. The orb of his staff is completely encased in a block of sparkling ice. Ah, the staff! Desmond screams in panic, holding up the now useless frozen weapon. He flashes back to the potion, freezing instantly, realizing with horror that he must have accidentally touched a wall. Desmond panics, yelling that he can't use his magic without the staff. Dorothy stares with wide, worried eyes at Desmond's critical failure. The golem's eye glows malevolently as it prepares to strike the defenseless Rin. The golem unleashes a deadly volley of sharp ice projectiles directly at Rin. A party member screams Rin's name as the ice shards home in on her. The ice barrage hurtles towards Rin, who is directly in the line of fire. Rin looks up in shock, her eyes wide as the lethal ice shards close in. Garan shouts that she won't be able to dodge as Dorothy covers her eyes in terror. At the last second, Meryl dives and tackles Rin to the ground, saving her from the deadly attack. OWW Meryl groans from the impact while Rin tells her to get up quickly because another attack is coming. Whoosh! The golem launches another wave of ice projectiles at the two down warriors. The party watches in terror, with Garan shouting in disbelief and another urging them to run for their lives. Meryl and Rin stand together, bracing themselves as they face the imposing golem. The golem's crystalline body begins to glow with immense power as it prepares another assault. Rin stares at Meryl, shouting, your leg," as she notices something is wrong. The scene suddenly cuts to a brutal impact, as sharp blue crystals pierce through dark armor, drawing blood. Meryl looks down with a grimace, realizing with regret that she has messed up. Rin helps a wounded Meryl, who urges her to run, but Rin furiously refuses to abandon her after being saved. As another volley of ice shards bears down on them, Meryl grimly warns Rin that her sentimentality will get them both killed. The deadly barrage of ice shatters harmlessly just before impact, breaking apart in mid-air around the two girls. Stunned by their survival, Rin and Meryl shout in confusion, with Meryl wondering if it was a shield. Garan stands before them, having blocked the attack just in time as a relieved Rin calls out to the old man. Thud. Garan lands firmly, sternly warning the girls that there won't be a next time and urging them to hurry. Plop Garand immediately collapses face first, making Rin and Meryl comically wonder if he just died. As the next attack prepares to launch, Meryl panics, frantically asking a worried Rin what they're supposed to do now. As the girls huddle over Garand's unconscious body, a flash of fire erupts, vaporizing the incoming ice shards. Rin and Meryl look on in stunned silence, with Rin asking in disbelief if she's seeing fire. Dorothy reveals she neutralized the attack with a level 3 spell, leaving Meryl shocked that she could use such powerful magic. With dizzy, spiraling eyes, Dorothy admits she's now completely out of MP, causing Meryl to shout in disbelief at their party's incompetence. A man from Party 24 carries Garand, complaining that while they're miraculously alive, they've just ended up with more people to rescue. As his party members panic and demand a plan, Desmond stands paralyzed with indecision. Trembling, Desmond grips his frozen staff, consumed by guilt and thinking that it's all his fault. He berates himself for his arrogance, admitting he was overconfident that his enhancement magic would make his flawed plan work. A painful memory surfaces, echoing the cruel words, "You're good for nothing." In a painful flashback, a red-haired woman named Adele and a silver-haired man called Desmond completely useless. Crushed by the memory, Desmond accepts that Adele and the others were right, admitting to himself that he can't do anything. Tears stream down Desmond's face as he breaks down, believing he is nothing more than an incompetent burden. The adventurers descend into chaos and despair, with Rin and Dorothy dazed and Meryl thinking this is the end. In a void of despair, Desmond's thoughts echo his feelings of worthlessness. Suddenly, a hand violently grabs Desmond's collar, yanking him from his self-pity. The brown-haired adventurer from Meryl's party angrily glares at a stunned Desmond. He furiously confronts Desmond, accusing him of thinking he's the only one suffering. The adventurer then blushes, admitting he's the useless one for drinking on the mission, leaving Desmond utterly confused. Declaring himself a healer who uses alcohol as a catalyst, the man casts a recovery spell on Desmond. He explains that alcohol doesn't freeze easily, as a helpful trivia box details the science of alcohol's freezing point. By combining the alcohol with his own body heat, he begins melting the thick ice from Desmond's staff. Steam rises from the staff as the ice melts away, while the exhausted party members lie scattered in the background. One of the men from Party 24 despairs that they can't keep dodging, but when Meryl tells him to be a man and carry everyone, he comically retorts he'd rather be carried. The ice armor doll fully regenerates, glowing ominously as the man curses the impossible difficulty of B-rank dungeons. Another deadly wave of sharp ice projectiles flies toward the exhausted adventurers. A sudden green aura envelops the party, protecting them from harm as they wonder in shock how they're still alive. Rin stares at the green energy glowing around her own hands, wondering what it could possibly be. The source is revealed to be Desmond, standing defiantly with his staff freed and pulsing with a powerful green aura. Filled with renewed hope, Rin, Meryl, and their party leader cheer for Desmond. Desmond stands confidently with his staff in hand, its glowing green orb signifying his readiness to fight back. His eyes now glow with a brilliant green light, filled with fierce determination. The ice armor doll narrows its single eye, focusing on the newly empowered party. Surrounded by green auras, the adventurers rally as one of their leaders declares it's time to begin the attack. With a determined cry of "Let's go!", Desmond unleashes his power across the battlefield. He casts a flurry of buffs: vitality for Rin, strength and agility for Meryl and her companion, and mana recovery for his allies. The wave of magic reaches Dorothy, granting her mental strength enhancement. The healer who saved his staff receives a healing power enhancement, instantly curing his frostbite. The golem launches yet another volley of ice shards, unaware of the party's newfound power. Now empowered, the adventurers effortlessly leap and dodge through the once deadly barrage of ice. A smirking Meryl taunts the golem, boasting that it can't hit her anymore. Rin slides gracefully under an attack, proclaiming that dodging the boss is now a breeze. Desmond urgently shouts to his overconfident teammates, reminding them they still can't defeat the boss. He clarifies their true target, the dungeon core located directly behind the massive boss. The confident OK, the newly empowered Rin dashes past the golem towards the glowing core. Grinning fiercely, Rin closes in on her target, declaring that this is the end. The golem's eye swivels, locking onto the charging warrior with a menacing glare. Dorothy cries out in panic, desperately warning Rin to watch out for an imminent attack. A wall of ice erupts from the ground, blocking Rin's path as she shouts in frustration. Dorothy asks if Rin is okay, who replies she was so close, as Garand shouts for them to go again, but Meryl's companion suddenly tells everyone to look over at the core. To their shock, the party watches as the dungeon's glowing core begins sinking into the floor. The healer curses, realizing with horror that the boss is trying to hide its core from them. As the core sinks further, a character warns that it's about to disappear, leaving them with no way to win. Garand and the healer shout in panic, wondering what they're supposed to do now. Cutting through the chaos, Desmond announces a new plan, a diversion tactic. Much to the healer's confusion, Desmond lays out his strategy. Everyone else will draw the boss's attention. creating an opening for one person to destroy the core. Rin understands and boldly volunteers to charge in, declaring that she is the fastest one there. With the core almost completely gone, a thought bubble notes they have only one chance to aim for it. Screeching, the entire party charges forward as one, with Garand rallying them to go all out. The adventurers taunt the ice golem, yelling for it to come get them, successfully drawing its attention away from the core. Whoops! An adventurer playfully dodges an attack, continuing to shout and taunt the distracted golem. The ice golem appears momentarily confused by the coordinated taunts from the scattered party members. Rin's expression hardens with absolute focus as she prepares for her critical run. With the golem distracted, Rin sprints toward the exposed, glowing core. Garand watches anxiously, clenching his teeth as he begs her to make it in time. Dorothy and the healer shout desperately, praying that Rin reaches the core before it's too late. Meryl and an adventurer leap to block an attack, yelling for Rin to make it in time. A brief image shows the 5 imposing male adventurers from Desmond's past, all smirking confidently. Rin leaps into the air, her sword raised high as she aims a decisive blow at the crystalline core. With a determined shout, she prepares to bring her sword down with all her might. Go! Rin screams, pouring all of her enhanced strength into the final strike. Her sword connects with the target, creating a powerful, explosive impact. With a triumphant, fanged grin, Rin shouts in celebration, believing she has succeeded. However, her sword is stopped cold by a transparent barrier of ice protecting the core. Dorothy, the healer, and Meryl stare in disbelief, shouting in shock as they realize her attack was blocked. The party realizes the boss was defending the core while simultaneously fighting them, a far more cunning strategy than they anticipated. A somber thought hangs in the air. That was their one and only chance. The core pulses with a final, brilliant light as it prepares to vanish completely. The party panics, with the healer shouting that it's bad and the core is going to be gone. A single tear falls from Desmond's eye as he whispers in despair. It's over. Suddenly, a powerful voice cuts through the despair, screaming, "Don't give up." Desmond and Rin look up in surprise as the archer from Garand's party readies his bow. The archer leaps into the air, pulling back his bowstring for a desperate final shot. Garand shouts with fierce resolve that even if one person fails, there is always a replacement. "I am an archer," the man declares, releasing a brilliant, magically charged arrow. The golden arrow streaks through the air, heading straight for the rapidly sinking core. The golem swiftly raises a thick wall of ice, moving to intercept the projectile. The healer cries out that the golem will block it again, and Meryl grimly agrees the arrow won't reach the core. With fierce determination, Dorothy shouts, "I won't let you!" She unleashes a powerful fireball spell, aiming it to intercept the golem's defensive wall. The fireball shatters the ice wall, clearing a path for the golden arrow to fly true. Desmond and Rin watch in wide-eyed astonishment as the arrow continues on its path, unopposed. Crack! The arrow finds its mark, and the dungeon core shatters into countless sparkling fragments. As the dust settles, a relieved Desmond shouts in triumph, "We did it!" The other adventurers, including Dorothy, the archer, Meryl, and the healer, watch in stunned silence as the core shatters. Rin echoes the victory cry, exclaiming that they have finally destroyed the core. The massive ice armor doll begins to crack and tremble, its single eye wide with what seems like shock. With a final shudder, the golem completely shatters into pieces, revealing it was merely a hollow shell of ice. The party is hit by a wave of freezing air as Meryl, Dorothy, and the healer cry out in shock and cold. The icy dungeon begins to fall apart, with large cracks spreading across the walls and floor. The adventurers stand together as the dungeon crumbles around them, its structure now unstable. Desmond looks around in awe, realizing that the entire place is frozen solid. The defeated golem now stands as a lifeless, frozen statue in the center of the chamber. The healer reminds Desmond of his plan, and Dorothy watches as they process their victory, while Rin celebrates beside her. The entire party erupts in cheers, celebrating their hard-won success against the B-rank dungeon boss. The archer and the healer congratulate their leader, Desmond, telling him he was amazing. An ecstatic Rin leaps onto Desmond, hugging him and calling him Des Kyun, but he humbly insists it wasn't his power. Despite his modesty, Desmond can't hide a warm, gratified smile as he's embraced by his teammate. As the celebration continues, the party notices a red gem has appeared, glowing brightly from within the frozen remains of the golem. Dorothy, Meryl, and the healer stare in utter confusion, wondering how this could be and what the gem is. Garand and Rin realize with a shock that the very gem they were searching for was hidden inside the monster all along. A smiling Meryl celebrates their dual victory, completing their task and conquering a B-rank dungeon. The party's dwarf celebrates finding the treasure, while Garand, Desmond, and Rin look on with more complicated expressions. Meryl playfully holds the treasure aloft, telling Desmond to join her party if he wants a share. Garand looks annoyed at Meryl's antics, while Rin cheers her on, and Desmond looks on with a smile. Grinning confidently while holding the gem, Meryl declares that after his performance, she wants him in her party even more. The healer tells Meryl to return the treasure they all earned, but Meryl calls Rin a traitor for agreeing. Meanwhile, the silver-haired man politely asks to see the treasure. The silver-haired man again asks to see the gem, but an annoyed Meryl shuts him down, telling him to stop talking. Meryl defiantly declares the gem is leverage, and she won't give it up until Desmond agrees to join her party. Tauntingly, Meryl asks Desmond what he's going to do, as the silent, silver-haired man looks on. A menacing thought to steal the gem appears as the silver-haired man suddenly lunges, slashing at Meryl and the healer. The other adventurers, including Dorothy and the dwarf, watch in horror as their supposed ally attacks. In a flash of violence, Meryl and the healer are cut down, splattering blood across the icy floor. Whirling around, the silver-haired man attacks Desmond, who barely manages to block the strike, a look of confusion on his face. Desmond is sent flying from the force of the blow, while Rin and Dorothy watch in helpless terror. Dorothy and a fanged Rin scream in disbelief at the sudden, violent betrayal. "What are you doing, Jin?" a furious Garen shouts, revealing the attacker's name. Now holding the red gem, Jin calmly states that acquiring the stone was his only goal from the very beginning. Jin scoffs, saying he hoped for a peaceful resolution but insults Meryl for not handing the gem over. Garand confronts Jin, reminding him they're friends. But Jin coldly refutes this, accusing Garand's organization of taking advantage of others. Garand recalls how his party was known for stumbling upon treasures, realizing with dawning horror that they were being used. Jin reveals his true allegiance to a criminal organization called the Black Underarm, shocking Dorothy and Rin. With a maniacal laugh, Jin admits he only infiltrated their group to achieve his goal and was never their friend, enraging Garand. "You!" Garand roars, drawing his bow and aiming a powerful shot directly at the traitor. Tesk, Jin contemptuously flicks the arrow aside with his dagger, dismissing the attack as useless. Garand grimaces, realizing Jin was always aware of his true strength and was merely playing along. Jin mocks the party, stating that without Desmond's buffs, they're just D-rank weaklings as the enhancement spell wears off. With a flick of his daggers, Jin boasts that his power level is far above that of a mere C-rank adventurer. His eyes glowing with red, malevolent energy, Jin vows to kill every single one of them right there. "Die!" Jin snarls, lunging forward to deliver a finishing blow to the powerless adventurers.